Uniform Education is the official recruitment sponsor for the SLT podcast. They specialize in SEN recruitment in and around London. So, if you are an SEN provision, a mainstream school, a local authority who needs specific SEN trained staff, make sure you contact Uniform Education and don't forget to mention the SLT podcast. Welcome to another episode of the SLT podcast. We have an amazing experienced guest today, where we're going to be focusing on the theme, or the title of today's podcast is going to be, you can't separate leadership from who you are. So who you are is a fundamental, excuse me, I'm supposed to be an English teacher, part of your leadership journey. And we have an amazing leader in today. We have Adrian McLean. This is the point where they edit in the run. But thank you, Adrian, for coming all the way down from Birmingham.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. We've been trying. There's a lot of people who we try to get on, and people don't understand how busy people are and how difficult it is. So, as you said, we talk a lot in educational terms. We talk about strategy, systems, outcomes, but I don't think we talk enough about the idea of who you are as a person to be a leader. So you get all of the educational buzzwords, but I don't think that is focused on enough. And I'm going to plug it initially. I have to plug it early on. I know you're going to be doing a book.
Yeah.
What's the title of the book?
The book is The 10 Character Commandments of Leadership.
I've got a song ringing in my head. Those of you of a certain vintage.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. I'm not going to repeat it, but yeah, you've got to have that as an intro. So the character commandments of leadership. So kind of that's almost core to what you do.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this question. Can you be successful and a bad leader?
You can. You absolutely can. And so I've worked with a number of people who fit that category. It depends on what metrics that you're measuring successful by. So if it means that, do they get results? And that's success. And we can say that they're successful. Does it mean that their team leaves after 12, 18 months, 24 months? Is that success? No. Does that make them a good leader? Well, some people might, use those metrics to say, well, they've gone on to promotion.
Yeah.
Which could mean that they're successful. But actually, 9 times out of 10, in my experience, the reason why people leave the roles that they're in is because of the leadership around them.
Or conversely, the reasons why you have people who stay for 10, 15, 20 years.
100%.
Yeah.
So people who stick around, it's because they're working with great people, they're working under great leadership, and they're comfortable with that. So you can be successful and not be a great leader because you achieve the goals or the metrics that have been set around what is deemed successful. Now that sounds a little bit cryptic, but like if you're getting results, as in you're getting GCSE results, but you're absolutely decimating your staff and your children.
High staff turnover, or pupil feedback. Yeah.
Then are you successful? I would argue not.
Could I ask you, I'll keep it specifically to your educational journey. Do you think you found a lot of that or seen a lot of that where?
I have.
Do you think it's in your educational journey, endemic of education, where you have a lot of people who are quote unquote successful, but not necessarily have the leadership qualities?
Yes. And if I go back and I think about my own leadership journey, and this is something that when I talk to people, I talk to leaders, I talk to people who have aspirations to be leaders. This is something that resonates deeply with them. The reason I initially became a leader wasn't because somebody identified that you were a great leader. It was because I was good in the classroom.
Yeah. That's the core, isn't it?
I was great in the classroom. I was exceptional at delivering high quality lessons and learning to young people. So somebody said, okay, we'll make you a head of year. We'll make you a head of department. And then you excel at that. And then they go, okay, maybe you should be a senior leader. At no point has anybody ever actually, in that part of the journey there, in the first sort of 10 to 12 years of my education journey, nobody taught me anything explicitly from a leadership point of view. So where did that come from, and where does that come from? And that's the reason why I've sat down and I've put pen to paper and I've wrote this book, because there's certain things that I believe and I've lived and I see happening, or not, or more pertinently, not happening every day in our leaders that are leading to the system that we have in education now. So what I see is that people who are more fascinated with the metrics.
Yeah. It's become a numbers game to some extent.
I've got to get this to happen. We've got to get attendance to 94%. And then you have leaders, and I've been in the rooms when this has happened, who said, I don't care how you do, just get it done. I've seen people say, we've got to raise GCSE results because we need a 3-year upward trend. That in itself is a madness, because we're not dealing with the same children every year. So to say that we have to beat last year's score when we're dealing with a completely different cohort of children, it doesn't make any sense to me. But all of these things come back to, essentially, I think you're going to ask me about this in more detail later, but this comes back to pressure and the accountability system that we have in education that is really forcing and driving what and how our leaders behave. And that's why I wrote the 10 character commandments of leadership, because that's my antidote to saying there is a different way, and we need to get back to the core of what leadership is about, particularly in education, and why we became teachers and leaders in education in the first place.
I like the fact that you say particularly in education, because in my educational journey, I've seen where school structures have become much more corporate.
Yeah.
And not to say there aren't things that can be borrowed or lent or learned from a corporate structure, but a school structure dealing with young minds is a completely different ball game to, as you say, the city firms or whatever it is. So I'm glad you make that point. Yeah. Very, very cool.
So I think about this. When I went to school, and I was in a large comprehensive school, we had a head teacher, we had 2 deputy heads.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? We had heads a year. That was it. Heads of department. That was the leadership structure. When I started teaching, it was pretty much the same. Got to the late 2000s, coming up to 2010, and then this new phenomenon of assistant heads popped up. But then when I look back at it now, the reason why is because that accountability started to ratchet up. So more people were needed to take on certain responsibilities. And now you've got an insane level when you factor in multi-academy trusts.
Yeah. So break down what the leadership structure in a multi, just for those who maybe don't know or aren't in multi-academy trusts, or there may even be some people who are working in education and working in schools, and they don't know what the structure looks like. So what does that look like? Okay.
So if I start with my own personal ambition was to be a head teacher. Because when I started on that journey, the head teacher was the be all and end all. The head teachers made all the decisions. 2010, 2011, the advent of academization became reality in the English education system, and multi-academy trusts started to form, whereby that was more than one school operating under a wider umbrella. And the rationale for that was economies of scale. We could do things cheaper, we could oversee things. And there was this fascination with really good schools and leaders overseeing troubled schools and schools that had been chronically underachieving. On paper, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, yeah.
So what started to happen was then you started to get this executive level of leadership appear. So you had assistant heads, deputy heads, head teachers, And then we got into the multi-academy system, and those kind of morphed a little bit to the American system, whereby we had principals, vice principals, associate principals, and all of that sort of stuff. But then when the multi-academy trust really started to take off, and we'd get like 5 to 10 schools under that same umbrella, we got this phenomenon of executive head teachers whose job essentially is to manage the head teachers and oversee what goes on in each of those schools. I mean, I currently do that now. I oversee three schools. Alongside that, as things grew, you would have a bigger central team. So you would have CEO, Chief Executive Officer, or Chief Education Officer, COO, Chief Operating Officer. You'd have somebody who looked after the estates for all the schools. You'd have people who looked after the finances. So not necessarily each school would have a business manager in it. They would have someone that oversees it. So you've got all this central leadership structure that sits on that. And then as schools have got, as trusts have got bigger, you then get people who look after central elements. So people who look after behavior across all the schools in the trust, people who look after attendance, people who look after safeguarding.
So this is so just so you know, and as he slightly dropped in there, oh yeah, I'm also an executive head. Like, I like the way you just neatly jumped it in there. Education and schools have become much more corporate over the last 20 years. And I love the way you made it clear that, because I remember when I got into education and an assistant head, I didn't understand what it was, because when I went to school, you just didn't have it. You had the head and you had the deputy head. And that was probably about it. If you were lucky, you maybe had 2 deputy heads. And you spoke about kind of accountability being spread to some extent. So do you think that pressure, whereas previously the head held a lot of that pressure, do you think that's now been spread?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So it's been spread in the sense of that everybody feels it.
Get it,
Absolutely, everybody gets it. Everybody can get it. So, and again, I'm going to go slightly off topic because it's something that I'm extremely passionate about. I've got 3 daughters. One is 18, one's 13, and the other one is 11. She's in year 6. I watched all 3 of them go through SATs. Well, not quite, because one of them didn't do SATs because of COVID. But essentially, I've watched them all go through that. And the pressure that they feel because of SATs, the pressure that they feel to do well because of SATs. Why is an 11-year-old talking to us about, I've got to do well in a SATs test? They shouldn't be talking to us about that. Now, the rationale and the reason for that happening is simply because that is fired down right from the very top. So again, let me just reiterate. The children shouldn't be talking about a test that measures the ability of the school to deliver an education.
So let me hold you. Do you think that leadership is shown during those times where if pressure is coming down, it almost reveals who you are when you're under pressure? So if you've got it where you've got 11-year-olds that are feeling under pressure, then I would argue that as a head teacher, you're not necessarily doing your job. So would you say that your leadership style is revealed when you're under pressure?
100%. And it's not a sporadic problem. It's a huge problem across the board, because that leadership problem, let's call it that leadership problem, or rather, let's call it those leadership choices, come right from the top. They're coming from on high, and they're interpreted by the leaders of trusts who are saying, we must get this, which is being pressed down onto head teachers. Head teachers are feeling that pressure. They're feeling the hot breath on their neck, and they're saying, well, we've got to do what needs to be done. So
by any means necessary.
What I'll say here is, essentially, they'll go, we've got to do what it takes, whatever it takes. So the pressure becomes the problem. Whatever values our leaders hold and what their beliefs are go out the window because the pressure takes over. and they have to act in a way that isn't in accordance and alignment with their values and their character, because they've got to get the results.
So you've got to be able to in those uncomfortable situations in leadership, it can be very difficult in those structures to kind of hold firm.
Yeah,
what you believe.
Absolutely, because if let's just say that you're a middle leader, right, and your subject hasn't gotten the results, you're answering to your line manager, which will be an assistant head or a deputy head, and they've got to answer to the head teacher. The head teacher's got to answer to the exec head. The exec head's got to answer to the chief executive officer, who has to answer to the trust board. So that pressure's coming right down from the top, right? We've got a league table that means that we can't hide from that says, this is what you got. These are the results that you got. And this is how it compares to everyone across the board. Now, there's a number of things that are problematic with that, which we won't go into now. But
you're more than welcome to.
But essentially, it's like there is the pressure. It's like, boy, I've got to get these results. So how am I going to get them? This is why we've seen the things and the strategies that we've seen over the last few years, whereby people have been off-rolling. People have been permanently excluding strategically. People have been sending young people to alternative provision. They've been moving them to other provisions strategically, because that means that they can raise their outcomes scores. Now, that's not good leadership, because we're talking about, really at the core of it, this is young people's lives.
Yeah.
And we're making decisions about their lives based off of pressure. And I genuinely have to make it that simple. The pressure for us to get results.
And this is the thing about leadership, whether we like it or not, kids are cognizant of all of these things, and they watch your leadership style.
Of course
they watch. So students, young people, you spoke about your 3 girls. It's not what you say, it's what you do.
Yeah.
It is what you do. And I don't know how much you agree with this. Too often I find school leaders succumb to, outside of the context of their school. If you know the context of your school, or you know the context of a child, or you know that excluding this or putting this child in this position will completely change their lives. There's almost no humanity to it sometimes. No. And the kids see that. So when they see a behavioral issues and so on and so forth, do you think leaders are sometimes linking their leadership style to the impact it has on the school and the kids?
I think that there are some people that would do that. I can't, what would be remiss of me to say is that everybody fits into one box. There's a range of people, but what I personally have seen is the number of people that are succumbing to, essentially, that's for the ease of explanation, simplify it into black or white. Either this happens or that happens. We make it more binary.
Yes.
If I do this, this happens. Well, I've got to do that.
Yeah.
Because that isn't a choice.
Yeah.
They don't see the shades of grey that go with that around what happens to that young person. What effect does it have on their life moving forwards? What effect does it have on my staff? Yeah. What effect does it have on the community? What message are we sharing with our school community about what happens within our school? And the school, whether we like it or not, in some people's eyes, is the hub of the community.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's really important that community is valued, the school community is valued by the wider community, because you've got to get on. You've got to be part of the same vision of ensuring that young people can achieve the best that they're possibly capable of. And our education system is problematic for that at the moment, because we've got all of our young people that are being shoved down a route that says, unless you do these things, you're not successful.
Yeah.
That's not okay in my book. That's not right. So because we've got to do, everyone's got to do English, everyone's got to do science, everyone's got to do maths, the kids are turning around saying, well, that's a lie.
Yeah. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it tangibly.
Yeah. Why have I got to do geography or history? Why have I got to do modern foreign language? So I can't even read, and you're trying to make me do another language. Well, and they've got a point. So those are the elements that whereby we have to zoom out and go, okay, this isn't working for my community.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do something rather than saying, okay, but that's what the rules say, right? And again, I'm quite cognizant of the fact that everybody doesn't have the level of challenge and I guess courage that I have to say we're not doing that because it's not right for our school community.
Yeah, that's that. You see those words? Those are as easy it rolls off your tongue. I realize in leadership, especially in schoolish, that is very difficult.
It is. It is
very difficult to say. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and I ask this question quite often. There's 22,500 publicly state-funded schools in this country. If every single one of those head teachers turns out I ain't doing it, what would happen?
Yeah,
it would change overnight. Even if 20,000, 15,000,
even if 5,000,
right,
did that,
we often don't understand and remind ourselves or remember the power that we hold. And we're like, oh, what can I do? This is what the government said. If I don't do this, Ofsted they're going to come and shut us down. Go on then. The school's still got to operate, and we've got a teacher crisis. We've got a shortage of teachers, and we definitely haven't got enough head teachers. So what are we going to do? You're going to fire us? So we have to remember the power that we hold.
Yeah, as leaders. Yep. No, 100%. And it's always, as a leader, and especially students, because I'm quite student focused in everything that I do, when the students know that you've got their back, and you understand and you've got their best interests at heart, even though those things don't really kind of sit well in a new multi-academy trust way of doing things, they'll back you.
Yeah.
They'll back you. But you spoke about, we were talking about this off camera. Yeah, I'll bring it. You spoke about teacher retention crisis. I've spoken about this numerous times on my More Education platform, on the SLT platform. You said there's a head teacher crisis.
Yeah.
However, there seems to be an extreme lack of leadership. There seems to be an extreme lack of senior leaders, executive leaders, so on and so forth, going into that, who are from an ethnically diverse background. So there are lots of people, and I know lots of people love to get into teaching, but I'm not seeing them in the classrooms. There are lots of really good middle leaders, passionate middle leaders. I'm not seeing them progress to senior leadership, exec leadership, where you are. Like, it must be looking around.
It's breezy. It's breezy.
Let's be honest, yeah. Why is this thing not working? Why is this inclusion thing that we've been talking about? I would say since the advent of George Floyd, like 2020. Yeah. Why is it not filtering through? Why are we not seeing, as we're seeing young black footballers over the last 20, 30 years? Why are we not seeing the same in education?
It's a really complex answer, and one of the things that I'm cognizant of is that this is year 25 in teaching for me. And when I started, there was on my PGCE course, my PGCE course was wild for this, in the respect of that there were 3 black males.
Sorry, what subjects?
PE.
PE, okay, cool.
So there were 3 black males on the same course of 20, there were 20 students on the course. There were 3 black males and 1 black female. So like massively overrepresented.
Yeah.
So that was huge. But then when I went out into the world of work, I didn't see another black male. I knew the 2 guys that I trained with, but I didn't see another black male teacher. I didn't have the experience of having one through my 13 years of being in school. So up until probably 6 or 7 years ago, I could count on one hand the number of black males that I knew of in the profession.
Yeah.
Right? That I knew, like, worked in Birmingham. And we're not talking about somewhere that is,
But
like,
I think
out in the sticks. Birmingham is like one of the most multicultural places.
diverse,
Like,
I think more so than London.
yeah. So we're talking about somewhere that is like hugely multicultural, and I'm not seeing people, right? So I wrote about this a while back, and I started to think about, well, what are some of the barriers? And I started talking to people that I know, started talking to my friends, started talking to younger generation. I started talking to the students who were in year 11 and sixth form. Like, would you consider being a teacher? I was like, oh, hell no. I said, why? And I was like, because of my school experience.
Yeah.
And I'm talking particularly black males here, right? We all know the stereotypes that black males face in school, and something miraculous happens when we turn 11 or 12. We go from being these angelic looking, cute guys to a threat.
I would say 13. I'd say like when they come back from year 8 to year 9, it's like, to
becoming this threat who's intimidating and aggressive. And that's problematic, because those young people I speak to, they would say things like to me, why would I want to be somewhere where that is what people think of me?
Yeah.
So they get as far away as they can. Then we have the young people who run towards the challenge, but don't necessarily have the means to go to university. Yeah. University is a barrier. Let's not make any bones about it. Getting a degree is a barrier to many young black people without putting themselves into a lifetime of debt. When you look at then the people that are in the profession, it's a case of, and it certainly was for me on my journey, it's like, well, who am I looking to?
Yeah.
Who do I know? Who can I speak to? Because they're going to be able to tell me stuff that I don't know and navigate what the things that I don't know. At the time I decided to make the jump to being a head, I knew of 2 head teachers in the West Midlands who were black, male, and I knew of one other that was up in Manchester. That's it, right? So it was like, okay, how do I make this happen? Couldn't. So a lot of it is around, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you won't know how to navigate some of the challenges that are there unless the people are there to help work you through that. Now, I work with a number of different groups that are set up to help people who look like us to navigate those challenges. And it's really helpful having people who've navigated them to be able to come back and tell you, don't do that, you need to do this,
this is how you
and you need to do, these are the things. A lot of the time, what I see is apathy from people who are in middle leader positions, because it's like, I've applied for 5 times and I haven't got anywhere. I've always been told, you're close, but you're not quite there, and you haven't quite got this, and this person's come up on the outside and they've done this, and we just felt that they were a better fit.
Yeah.
Code for they're probably not quite as challenging as you. That's the experience I genuinely hear from people that I work with, mentor and coach. So my job really is to instill the confidence in them to say, okay, forget that. Let's do these things. And this is how you navigate and you jump through some of these hoops, which is difficult and something that I wrestled with for a long, long time, because I had to do things that I didn't necessarily agree with. I had to say things in a particular way or be a particular way to get through that door.
Yeah, to make it work.
Yeah. And then it didn't work because I portrayed myself as somebody that I really wasn't.
Yeah, ultimately, you're exposed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's interesting because I think I've been very fortunate where, to some extent,
working in London, it's going to be a lot more diverse, and you're going to a lot more people. And my schooling was very different as well. So it's only once I kind of was in education for a while, and then I wanted to step up, I started to kind of hear those things. And it's real. It's almost like, and not this isn't to throw shade on anybody. I remember we mentioned the George Floyd thing. That's when I saw a lot of organizations, especially in education, become much more aware of this issue. And it's where I started to have conversations around people around race. And it's like almost before that, people were noticing it was happening. And it was like that for me before maybe 5 years in teaching when I wanted to step up. And it didn't happen to me. Because I remember going for a key stage second in charge role against an NQT, and I didn't get it. And I was like, how did she not get it?
Yeah.
How did I not get it?
Yeah.
Don't know, maybe it was my arrogance. I've been told that. But I remember she was coming to me afterwards asking me for resources and how do we do this. And I was happy to give it to her. That's why I realized, I'm never putting myself in that position again. So I fully get it. And I didn't climb the ladder for that specific reason. That one interview was so so impactful. No, I was like, nah. I can't have an NQ, someone who's only just finished their first year, and I'm nearly 10 years deep. Yeah, no, I fully get it.
So just to build on that, one of the guys that I referenced to was on my PGCE course. My 4th headship interview, he and I were both interviewing for the same job.
I like the way you dropped that in my 4th headship.
Right. The previous 3 hadn't got.
Yeah.
4th one. I came first in 6 of the 7 tasks. He came second in 6 of the 7 tasks. The task where I came second, he came first. I came first in the final interview. He came second in the final interview. And neither of us got the job.
Okay, right. Let me deconstruct that a bit. So, firstly, how do you know who came first and who came second?
That was the feedback that we both got.
So they told you to your face?
Told us to our faces, yeah.
And what was the reason for you ultimately not getting the role?
So they gave it to the person who was the deputy head in the school, who came, at best they came third.
Yeah.
And they gave it to that person. And that person then didn't last even an academic year in that role, because they phoned me up 3 months later and said, would you consider taking the role?
Did you take the role?
No.
See, that's my problem. Coming back to it, it's that stuff would hurt. I would probably say I'm never going for a head role. So after, there's so many questions. So on your 4th, how many applications did it take to get a headship?
I got one on my 5th one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And what would you say to somebody who has had somebody tell you, because that's like winning the 100-meter Olympics and then saying, yeah, we know you won, but we're not going to give you the gold medal. We're going to give it to the guy who came third because we just feel like it.
Yeah.
And that's crushing. So my question to you would be, what would you say to somebody who is an aspirational leader who is being rejected in the way that you've just described? What would you say to them? And please don't say, "Oh, just keep trying. I need that." What would you say to them?
This is where it comes down to who you are and what your character is. So my character is forged in very specific things that I saw and was brought up on, and without those things, I actually wouldn't be here today. Not because of my experiences, but I literally wouldn't exist. So when you have a maternal grandmother that survived TB twice as a child, and TB killed 6 of her siblings and her parents, she was told she wasn't going to make it past a teenager. Mm-hmm. That's a level of resilience that's just, it's inbuilt. When you've got a paternal grandfather that come from Jamaica that went against everything that he was told and became the first black publican in the West Midlands. There's a level of resilience that you've seen and experienced that's just normal.
Yeah.
Built on top of that, I'm a competitor and I'm a sports person. All right, you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, okay, I'll find a way. So those things are built into me. Did it make it any easier? No, because I don't like losing. I don't do losing. All right, and I had to learn to reframe that. It's not losing, it's learning. So what do I need to do better next time? What do I need to change? So what would I say to people is that you need to know who you are first and foremost and what drives you. And I knew that I was supposed to be a head teacher.
Yeah.
So I knew that I had to keep going. The work that I had to do was I had to figure out, well, why is this not happening for you? Because I wasn't looking in the right places.
When you say the right places, what do you mean?
I was looking at schools and organizations that weren't the right ones for me and where I needed to be. So I was looking at the school as a whole, not where it is. And what I mean by that is, well, where's the school on its journey? So when I was looking at some of these schools were good and outstanding schools.
Yep.
And what I had to be okay with was, and I had to rationalize with myself, is that yes, you could lead those schools and yes, you could do those things, but that's not where your strength is. Your strength is in taking a school that is not doing what it should be doing and deconstructing it and rebuilding it. That is where your strength is.
All right. So that was kind of like a real moment of reflection where you've had to look in at yourself and say, okay, maybe what I think the thing is something completely different. That takes a lot.
It does.
How did you feel to know that this was your reality? How did it feel to look at yourself in the mirror, take accountability as a leader and question yourself, which is difficult.
Yeah, it is. It's really difficult. But there's only one person you can't lie to.
Mm.
You can skin teeth and do all the lies and whatever to everyone else, but you can't, you know, what is really apparent, and again, this comes back to the character.
Yeah.
I'd spent a period of time looking in the mirror and I'd become somebody that I didn't recognize because I was doing things to make sure that I would fit in. I'm not born to fit in. I'm born to fit out. I'm 6'4", right? I'm a black guy in education where there's not very many of them. I'm covered in tattoos. I don't have the same education experience as most of my peers, well, the vast majority of my peers. I don't come from the same socioeconomic background. We came out in the dirt. So like, I'm not going to have the same. So I hadn't embraced that. But when I did, that's when the switch flipped.
I think we're going to have to end it on that. I think we're going to have to wrap this one on that. Yes, that's profound. Listen, I didn't expect the conversation to go the way it did, but when you're with somebody like Mr. McLean, it's going to take some amazing turns. Listen, we've got some serious guests coming on, and this is an example of the type of guests that we've got coming on the SLT podcast. You need to make sure you are liking, you're subscribing, you are following, because on your educational journey, I was saying this with one of our last guests about almost this is like CPD, and even for me in my leadership journey, this has been like CPD. So I want to thank Adrian for coming on for this episode. We're obviously going to have another episode. We're going to put some serious questions to Adrian, Mr. McLean. Thank you very much for coming down.
You're most welcome.
And make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the SLT podcast. And yeah, we're here.